you help them with it, or they need something, you may provide it, and, okay, come on over and, hold me a row and we're done, we're even, or however you want to work that if somebody don't like charity. The other part of it is protection. And this happened in Ruidoso, New Mexico. It's online, you can check it. The local sheriff there had a problem with feds coming in saying you can't do this and we're going to do that, and et cetera. The sheriff said no. One of the people on the sheriff's detail, a deputy, happened to be a member of the local militia. He called the local militia and said, we need some help. And all of a sudden, some 15 feds were basically confronted with 130 armed people who weren't quick to pull the trigger. There wasn't a shot fired. The sheriff asked the feds if they wanted to go to jail or if they wanted to leave, that those were the two options. And they wanted to argue about it, and he said, it ain't up for discussion. Those are your two options. Either we take you to jail or you leave. The feds decided, after seeing guns come out of a whole lot of trees, that it might be a good idea to have lunch elsewhere. Now, this is confrontatory. This is direct stand down, where you stand somebody down because they're outnumbered and outmatched. I'm not recommending violence. What I am recommending
Drake, we lost
is that everybody get your groups together, get a phone tree going. When you see something funky, call
Drake is still here.
Have somebody who has time and capability to keep an eye out and make sure they got a cell phone and a radio. Tell them that when they see something funky getting ready to happen, they call, and it's investigated. The bad guys are intending to do is cause as much chaos and problems for everybody as they can. There's several ways to do that. One is to blow up things like bridges, cell phone towers, towers that support major electrical feeds to towns and things of this nature. It would be a good idea. And I've advised all of the militias to put a scout, recon, lookout, whatever you want to call it, out there with a radio and a cell phone. Make sure they've got contact. And the call does this. They call for reinforcements. The reinforcements call the sheriff, and they call a phone tree for the civilians. So everybody that is not directly involved can make sure they got the shotgun handy in case somebody decides to visit. The militia is deployed to whatever the problem area is, and these people are confronted. Just that simple. Now, somebody wants to come in and take your farming equipment. What are they going to do when 150 people show up armed and tell them no? With the sheriff standing in the middle of it telling them that's not a good idea unless you want to go to jail or leave, I'd suggest you make a decision on this. This is the sort of confrontation that is going to become more common, and I mean a lot more common than it was. The situations that come up like that is not the time frame for those is not going to last very long. But it's a good idea to have to be prepared to take matters into your own hands by, and I'm not saying take the law into your own hands. I said take matters into your own hands by support or backup of local law enforcement. The sheriff does have the capability legally to enforce the laws in your county. This means that each one of the people that would show up become deputized. And bingo, you then have a force to reckon with. This is not going, as I said, these things are going to become more commonplace. The other part of this is that certain sheriffs have been replaced and are being replaced. Anyone, and I'm going to make sure, I hope all the sheriffs are listening, or somebody that knows one, if you are confronted with losing your arrest hours, this is the sheriffs, or being put out of office, you have the right, because you have a time frame of 30 to 90 days, somewhere in that area, that you're still the sheriff. As soon as you hear or get wind of this, your best effort, and I mean this is going to bring it to a head quick, is to go down to whomever has said that you were going to be put out of office or you were not going to have arrest powers, arrest that individual or the city council or whomever it might be and put them in jail. There are several charges you can hold them on. Immediately contact the federal government and say, we got a problem. The feds have certain powers even beyond what the sheriff does with his permission. So you can bring things to a head. To me, I would also, at the time you start getting ready to do something of this nature, call the press. You want to make as much news and let everybody know what's going on as possible. Somebody says a cop is no longer a cop is full of it. It's not that easy. It's also not that legal. Now, when somebody interferes with the sheriff, he is obstructing justice generally. So these are the kinds of charges that somebody who says so, and it doesn't matter if it's the governor, the attorney general, it doesn't matter. You can arrest them. And this will bring this matter to a head. Now, there are several ways that this can be looked at, and I'm not going into legalistics, but that's the basic answer to this. Localization, where your neighbors all pull together. That guy that has a dairy farm doesn't have to worry about a raid that will close him down. A guy that's growing organic goats also can be protected. Now, here's the reason for that, and this is very simple. Just because they found an excuse in terms of farming does not mean they won't come after your house and you next. So this is why this is very and critically important. Get together with people. Get it together so that it is structured correctly, so that you've got the quick communications, and make sure that you've got some people that are willing to stand up with you and move in that direction. That's the answer to that question.
Okay, I want to take that 2 steps further. Number one is, I was actually talking to an ex-judge yesterday, and he commented that there are people in prison that should not be in prison, that he made a mistake,
we keep dropping
and that a lot of judges have done this with their rulings,
while we're waiting
and that they feel like they've made up.
We didn't hear anything. We didn't hear anything you said. You dropped out.
Okay, do you hear it now?
Sam, do the other thing, and we'll do that. We'll set that up right now. Just take a minute.
Okay. Let me see here. Drake, there seems to be concern. People seem to think they're going to get individual notifications whenever we put out operation, whenever we get the green light. But that's not, everybody's not getting individual. We've compiled various media outlets who are on our to be notified list, and they will go viral with it.
Welcome back. The hamsters are having a ball today. I apologize for that, folks. But in 1 minute, we're going to take a 4-minute break.
Okay, that sounds good. Anyways, before this all went down, Drake, I'm going to reiterate what I said before. We have been getting emails and such. There is apparently a strong misconception. People seem to think that we are going to individually email every single person when there is an alert to be given. That is not the case. It will be posted on our website, and we have been compiling a list of various media sources who have asked to be contacted when the green light is given, and they will help to let everybody know. And I know, Dave, you've already said that whenever we have something really, really important, we can get on at any time. So I wanted to make that very clear.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Hey.
So with that said...
With that said, we're going to take a 3-minute and 46-second break so Drake can get a fresh cup of coffee and I can calm down to a slight panic.
Okay, let's go back to the judge. I had a conversation with one yesterday, and he said that there were many people in prison that shouldn't be there because a judge had made a mistake. And their way of reconciling it is writing a letter once the person gets out of jail to help them get a job. To me, that doesn't seem justified. So what can people do about the judges that are making illegal rulings?
Well, there's two ways to go on that. I would suggest holding the judge directly, personally responsible for incorrect application of the law. That's what they're supposed to do, is apply the law. Then they're supposed to apply what they understand of the situation or circumstances involving whatever the violation, as they might call it, would be. In terms of just writing a letter, I'm going to suggest that's not good enough, that the record needs to be expunged. In other words, it's not just closed like you would seal the records of a juvenile, but actually is stricken from all records. Then that person is free to go on their merry way, and if there's any question, then the judge should always be available to answer questions on that basis. That then would rectify that situation.
My next concern, let's take it to the police, because the police, and not all policemen are bad, I want to say that, make it very clear, but there are some that are doing things like tasering people to death or being inappropriate, taking them into custody, what have you. What could the people do? What can the people do to protect?
Oh my goodness! It looks like we've lost Mugsy again here.
Well,
I'm here. I can hear you guys.
Yes, it is. It is.
I can hear you guys.
Anyways, well, we didn't hear you at all.
What about the police? Yeah. What about the police that are acting inappropriately? Is there anything as far as, can you get deputized, or what can people do to protect themselves from corrupt police officers?
Well, first of all, my suggestion would be to make formal complaints to the state level law enforcement. What this does, this involves the FBI and other people directly in whatever transpired. That's first. It also causes the action to be investigated. If anybody has witnesses, etc., get their statement that they saw the policeman doing things that were not right. Now, the fun and games is this. The policemen state that the use of what they call non-lethal weaponry, specifically tasers, comes under self-protection. That's all well and good, so long as there is justifiable reason for that. The justifiable reason is a threatening manner, and specifically with a weapon. Whenever a person is outside of that parameter, then you're supposed to take about 12 or 14 or 25 officers, whatever it takes, and you simply gang tackle the turkey, put it in cuffs, and this is restraint so that they cannot harm themselves or other people, and you take him down and put him in a padded room if that's what it takes. Now, a lot of people want to take the idea of citizen rights to an extreme and actually physically assault the police. This is not a cool idea. This needs to quit. Now, as that danger is mitigated, in other words, if people are just standing around and they arbitrarily pick somebody, that needs to be video recorded. That needs to be witnessed. And at that point, then the policeman is guilty of a crime. And you do not have to abide by what would be called a police inquiry in the matter.